I recently outlined this strategy for someone who could be making a lot more revenue with their business with a lot less time. And it's also a very similar situation to what I was in a couple years ago. So I'm going to walk you through exactly how I thought through this person's situation, assets they had available, what they've tried and what was not working, and how I put together a strategy plan for her to follow and go implement to get the best results possible. So, obviously, this is a strategy breakdown. It's being implemented, but what I would expect as results from this is on the low end 15K from the charter launch, on the high end 50K, and the goal is to get to 20K a month while cutting work hours in half, which genuinely I think is pretty realistic on like a 12-month timescale. So roughly current client situation, obviously keep these like quite general and numbers are changed for privacy. Income is kind of between 3-4K to about like 9-10ish K. However, it's inconsistent. There's a lot of overwhelm. There's a lot of effort being put in, and she feels like she's not making enough for the effort she's putting in. And one of the reasons because of that, one of the reasons why that happens is that her services are either high delivery, so there's a lot of time that's going in. I'll talk you through why that's happening and how to fix that in a second. And she's trying to scale out of these one-to-one or high delivery services that she has with launches that are keeping her exhausted. The last launch did just over 10K, which just doesn't feel worth it. So there is a bottleneck that we're in right now. So whenever I work with clients, I always look at like what assets do they have available so that we can use as much as possible what they have. Because we always look at short-term wins, like where are the quick wins available to you? What can we deploy really quickly so you get an ROI ASAP? And then long-term, what do we have to put into place for your longer-term sustainable growth? So in this case, we actually have a really nicely sized email list. It always makes me so excited when people have an audience, even if they're like, oh my gosh, I'll email them super inconsistently or I never know what to say. I'm like, cool. We have people who have raised their hands to hear from you. And almost everyone, even if your email list is like 500 people or whatever, is using email marketing wrong, and you're leaving so much on the table. So there's a lot we can do with this. I'll kind of show you that. She's also in like quite a good niche. It's quite specific. There's not a huge amount of people in there, and it is quite specific, so it's not super broad, which is great because again, there's interest. We can play with that. And the offers that she has, she does a lot of like one-off, one-on-one sessions. So it's like a kind of power hour thing. She does like in-person small group days, and she's a group program. So she's tried to scale out of the pure one-to-one. This is the same thing I did. I had one-to-one clients. I was trying to scale out of that with launches, and it didn't work. And I'll walk you through that in a second about why and how to do this better. So in terms of here's some of the bottlenecks we identified. So firstly, and this is, I think a lot of people don't realize this, the short sales cycle. Now, if you're only selling like the one-off one-on-one sessions, you're selling, it could be workshops, retreats, things like that. A lot of them have short sales cycles. So when people sell services that are fairly short or are lower cost, so let's say under $3,000, then you are constantly having to find new clients. And yes, you kind of have to do that anyway. But if you're selling like a one-off power session, you like you get an inquiry, you can do your work, you convert that lead, they become a client, they pay you the 100, 200, $300, whatever. Like, cool, I've made $300. Now what? And you kind of have to start that again because you don't be making $300 a month, you'll be making a lot more. So for all the offers, they had a short sales cycle. This also has to do with the price. High delivery is another problem. Everything that she was selling requires a lot from her to just deliver. So you see a lot of time and efforts going into the sales stuff, a lot of time and efforts going into the delivery stuff. No wonder she's exhausted. Pricing. Now, I want to be clear on this. I'm not someone who's like blanket, just raise your prices. And raising your prices also means you have to shift your messaging, you have to increase authority, you have to have more touch points. There's more involved. You have to improve your sales process. There's more involved than just changing a number. But in this case, given again, short sales cycle and high delivery and the niche that she's in, I was like, yep, we are underpricing massively. So we need to shift the delivery, the sales cycle, and the pricing. And lastly was messaging. And I can see that like right from here, if you have a 7,000 person email list, I would expect you to be making more money. So you're either not saying the right kind of marketing, or you're not selling the right thing. And the messaging is again to do with pricing. If you want to raise the prices, which in her case, I'm like, we can definitely do that to whatever point she's comfortable with. Because I'm always saying as well, you need to be able to say this number in a sales conversation without wanting to throw up. So that was another key thing that we looked at. So here are some of the steps that we outlined to help her scale. And like I said, we always look at what are the short-term wins, and then what are the long-term things that need to happen later on. So first part, if someone's coming to me saying basically, I am exhausted, I do not want to add more to their plate. It's also kind of impossible. Like if you're saying, I don't have time to see my kids the way I would want to, I'm not going to give you more stuff to do. Yeah. First thing we're going to do is what I call it's called a 4P process. It's a way to look at where your time and energy is currently going in the business. We go through this together and I help you identify where you can save time, right? And again, this is like a process that we go through, but pretty much all of my clients, we save at least 5 hours a week just with this step, because now we've got 5 hours a week, you can have some breathing room and we can implement better. Next thing to work on with this client is the offers. So one, immediately shift from one-off strategy sessions into higher ticket packages. Because of our niche, I think there's like fairly easy ways we can kind of shift that messaging to seem a lot more valuable to clients, and that they'll be able and willing to pay more money for working with her. So that's on the one-on-one stuff. On the group stuff, immediately I want to reposition that group program, which is currently like, let's say under $700 for a couple of weeks, into something that's, again, much higher value. And again, for her niche, we can absolutely do that, at least I believe so. And we always test this out. So I'm going to reposition that group program into something that we just kind of do one more, what I would call a charter launch with, and then we move it into evergreen. So that's the next step. Firstly, we validate. So here, if we're like going to redesign the offer, we're going to change pricing, change messaging, we test it. So I call this a charter launch. We validate this, right? So we don't go create anything. We validate, does this hypothesis that we've made, does it make sense? Yeah. And we aim for 5 to 10 sales at $3K to $5K each. Yeah. Price-wise, it's different per client. I think with what she's got going on, we can definitely do that. And we follow my charter launch process. We do like a super light touch validated process here to get people in the door and sell to them. And then later on, transition this into an evergreen sales model so we can get her out of this constant need to hustle. And also, we really want to re-engage that email list. We want to nurture that list. So I have what I would call like a cash now campaign, an email campaign that we're going to customize for her, warm up and re-engage that list so that we can sell to them. And again, because we've got that beautiful email list, we want to add a very high touch, very high value omnipresent campaign. So we are building her authority consistently. And we're adding these evergreen marketing and sales assets as well that you built at once, and they work symbiotically together on autopilot, or as much on autopilot as it is possible. So outcome goals, again, this is the plan, has to be deployed, and we have to test it and tweak it as we move forward, because things are going to change as always whenever you launch something or do something. So firstly, I want to do that charter launch with a new streamlined one-to-many offer. And again, low end, I would expect her to make 15 grand. High end, I would expect her to make 50 grand. And anywhere in between is going to be the reality. Longer term is going to be the consistent 20K months with few working hours. That's the goal. And that's what I believe is possible given what she's got going on. And building out those evergreen marketing and sales assets so that over time, we start removing her from the business. We start removing the need for her to be like active all the time in the business to be able to generate leads or sales or deliver on anything. So that's the plan. And I'm excited for this person because I think that there is so much potential and they're not even scratching the surface. So that's always fun for me as a strategist. If this sounds like something that you would want yourself, if you are also feeling like overworked and too many ideas and you're not really sure what the right next step is for your business growth, then I would suggest you book a game plan call. There's a link somewhere around this video. You can fill in your information, find a time that works, schedule that in. It's going to be either me or it's going to be my husband, Michael, who does these calls, depending on your situation. We do that call with you. We get more information about your business. We start outlining with you, like, what are the core steps that we need to do. By the way, this entire thing that came from one of these calls. And we can either decide, you can decide, hey, take the ideas I've given you, go off and do it on your own. Or actually, I want your help. I want support implementing. I want someone telling me exactly how to do this so I'm not wasting any more time. And then we talk about working together. So if that sounds good, go ahead and book that in, schedule a game plan call, and make sure you like this video, leave me a comment so that I know that this is interesting and I'm going to go create more like this. All right, I'll see you in the next one.